Tonight on Joy News Prime, when should the country be fully opened up without risking a second wave of coronavirus cases? The president has thrown the challenge to the clergy and the Council of State.
We had envisaged lifting the ban on public gatherings. What stage should we have our schools reopen again?
Governing New Patriotic Party, meanwhile, has denied claims the president's decision to lift the lockdown on part of the country was only to enable the party conduct its parliamentary primaries.
How are they going to contest the election? So they should rather eschew their parochial position.
Also in this bulletin, the Ashanti Region Security Council wants to enforce wearing of nose mask in Kumasi from Wednesday. And in business,
Brent crude falls below $20 a barrel, the lowest since 2002. COPEC says it is time for Ghana to stock up.
This is the perfect time that the Ghanaian authorities would have to pay a little more attention to oil.
I'm Israel anchoring from home as always. And remember, Joy News Prime is live on digital terrestrial TV because we're free to air.
In the Joy News studios in Kokomlimle on digital address GA0992539. The bulletin is also live on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 144. Please stay with us.
Tonight, the big question is whether or not the country is ready to go back to normal life. Indeed, the answer to this question continues to elude President Akufo-Addo and key national players as a threat of the coronavirus pandemic continues to haunt the country. The president on Sunday lifted the lockdown on Greater Accra, Greater Kumasi and Kaswa, but failed to open the gate for churches, schools and other social activities. The fear is that this could lead to a spike in the number of infections if the country is opened up too soon. At the Jubilee House on Tuesday, the president engaged leadership of the church and the Council of State on the way forward.
We have insisted that the other measures that were still in place, which are still in place, needed to continue as part of our fight against the virus. And these largely are the major ones: the ban against public gatherings, the continuing ban against travel into our country, the closure of our schools, the rules about how workplaces should be organized. Now we have then also now, we cannot focus exclusively on the health because we also have to look at the future. These measures that we have taken cannot be a permanent feature of our national life. We cannot live in Ghana year after year under these conditions. We have to find a way to continue our existence, the development of our country, the development of our economy, which takes into account the situation where now everybody except myself is in a mask. We have to find a way. So that therefore is also part of the considerations that now are now on the table for us to look at. And I felt that all of these, especially, not to make it to sound as if somehow or other it is just a professional interest you have in your communities and in your congregations. That's why I brought you here. But obviously, you are also major actors in this drama. The banning of public gatherings that affects the churches affects each one of you. But I felt that with all of this as a background, with the role that already you have played, that you continue to play, that it will be a good moment for us to meet again and exchange views, share views as to the way forward for our country. These are the measures that are in place. When will it be prudent for us to lift them? At what stage we had envisaged lifting the ban on public gatherings? At what stage should we have our schools reopen again? When can we open our borders? And for that exercise, I think that your input, the decisions that government should be, is invaluable.
Chairman of the Christian Council of Ghana, Right Reverend Dr. Paul Kwabena Boafo, said the church is hard hit by the ban on social gatherings, but pledged the support of the Christian faith to the president's initiative.
We would continue, first, to play our role as the places of hope for our people. When it comes to the church, we stand in and in our live streaming and the way we have reached our people, we have brought hope to them. We've brought a sense of healing, and in that they have also looked up to God, the one who can see us through this pandemic, and the church will continue to do that. Even as we sit here, we've just closed from a meeting where all of us have come together to organize a 3 days national prayer and fasting program starting Friday through to Sunday this very week, which is part of our response to the COVID-19 pandemic and how Ghana is also helping to fight it. This is an exercise in which all of us coming together virtually, praying and asking for God's intervention and His direction as we go through this pandemic. So it is a good thing for you to even call us here this afternoon so that we can also make this to you that we are behind what the government is doing, and we'll do it such that at the end of the day, we'll all rejoice for it, that we stood together, we were in it together, and we have battled to win together.
President Akufo-Addo indicated the Ghana Health Service will in the coming days announce guidelines to regulate the production of nose masks in the country.
Of health, I'm hoping any day, imminently, today, tomorrow, before the week is out, will come out with guidelines on what should be the minimum requirements and the minimum standards for producing an acceptable. I know there are lots of people, as we're speaking, are making face masks in their own homes, etc. But I think that for public health reasons, it's important that we should have some minimum standards that go into the making of the face masks. And I think the once that comes out, then the mass production and everything can be seriously advanced. At the moment, the domestic production that we have ramped up is being confined to satisfying the needs of the health workers. That's been our first port of call. The hospitals and all of those who work in them are those who are the first port of call for the nose masks that are being made in the country. I think from there to the mass production, where we can get to a situation where everybody can have one, we will need to have some minimum standards certified by the Ministry of Health, the Ghana Standards Board, etc. And then we can go out. It's one of the things, Anna, too, that has been very encouraging in this crisis, the ingenuity of Ghanaians in responding to this. First of all, on the part of our private sector, they've stood up to be counted, producing sanitizers in large quantities now, and the masks and the PPEs are all coming out in greater and greater numbers, and I have every hope that it will be sustained. The government is using its power of purchase, its purchasing power to stimulate this development in the economy.
The Ashanti Regional Health Directorate has meanwhile confirmed 5 new cases of COVID-19 out of 204 it sampled at the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital. The Directorate also says persons in areas identified as hotspots in the region will undergo voluntary testing for COVID-19. This is part of measures the Regional Health Directorate is taking to curtail the spread of the virus there. At a media briefing Tuesday, the Health Director of Ghana Health Services, Dr. Emmanuel Tinkra, revealed new cases have been recorded.
At the mass screening, we have certain hotspots in the region. The hotspots are areas where we've isolated cases. And then all the households around where we've isolated cases will go into what we call voluntary testing. All of them will be tested, but this one is voluntary. And then those who are positive will be enrolled, as we said, and then followed up. We are also considering testing high-risk groups. The high-risk groups are the frontline workers, drivers, taxi drivers, Uber drivers, market women, and those who are selling the market. These are the people who usually come into contact with a lot of people. And then they will also be enrolled into what we call the voluntary testing. So they will first be, it's voluntary, but they will be tested, and then those who are positive will be enrolled. And then the routine surveillance will continue. Under the routine surveillance, if you have any signs and symptoms, fever, cough, difficulty in breathing, what you need to do is that you call the number 112. You don't have to come to the hospital. We will come to where you live, and then the medical team will interact with you. And then if it's necessary, we will do the testing, and they will follow you up. The most important is that the rules and regulations still applies. The lockdown, we all admitted, was difficult, especially for the poor and then the vulnerable. So it's out of very good wisdom that the president decided that he's going to unlock the lockdown. But as he said, that is not the reason why we should assume that the fight is over. The fight is not over at all. This is the time that we need to strengthen the fight and then make sure that we all adhere by the rules and the regulations. And when we do that, it's likely that we may contain the infection. So number one is that social distancing is the key. And anytime you come closer to any person, less than 2 meters, then you know that you are in trouble. So if you don't have anything to do at all, please make sure that you stay at home. Because anytime you step out of your house, then it means that you are exposing yourself to what? To risk. The proportion of asymptomatic carriers are many. And it's not likely that you identify them because they themselves don't know that they are sick because they are not showing any signs and symptoms. The wearing of face masks is so important because, as we all know, the disease is spread by droplet infection. So anytime you wear face mask, it protects you better because it's likely that at least you will be better protected than not wearing face mask at all.
Meanwhile, the Security Council in the region says it will make it mandatory for members of the public to wear nose masks from Wednesday. This, it says, is in response to President Akufo-Addo's advice last Sunday for people to wear the protective gear to reduce their exposure to COVID-19. Nane Ajima reports, though some members of the public could be seen in the mask, there are a lot more people without it.
From traditional and foreign fabrics, local tailors and dressmakers have been making these masks for public use. Besides accessibility and affordability, local production of masks reduces the pressure on scarce surgical masks for health workers. It costs between 3 and 5 cedis for the masks to be acquired. Citizen Stevens Enterprise, a fashion designing company, has shifted attention to making these masks. Stephen Kofi-Poku is co-founder.
We make sure that we get layers that are waterproof. So with the local cloth, that is the cotton, we make space for the filter, that is waterproof. So if I have an ordinary cloth mask without the filters, the particles can just get through the mask.
Even though these masks are easy to come by, its use is yet to be widely accepted. Here is a shopper at the Kumasi Central Market who refuses to wear the masks despite the huge crowd at the market. Many people have purchased the masks, but will not wear because, according to them, it is uncomfortable. Even if they do, it is the wrong way, some on the chin, others on the forehead.
Trying it on the first time, Charlie, the heat is so much, the heat is too much. Outside the heat is also comfortable, as you can see now, putting it on, it kind of give me some pressure here on my, look at this. It puts pressure on my ear, you can see, so I think it's very hot. It's very hot putting this on.
Virologist at the Kumasi Center for Collaborative Research, Dr. Michael Owusu, however, wants people to prioritize their health.
I don't expect nose masks to be encouraged. I expect nose masks to be mandatory, that everywhere anybody goes, before you go to a trotro, a public transport, every gathering you go, the first thing is that you must be in a nose mask, and the police must ensure that whoever goes out has a nose mask.
Meanwhile, the Ashanti Regional Minister, Simon Osei-Mensah, says the security personnel will be deployed to enforce all preventive protocols despite lifting of the lockdown.
So I expected that today, definitely, we're going to have people without the face masks. But going forward, you see that the number will reduce.
Eva Zoom is a virologist at the KNUST, Dr. Michael Owusu. Doc, good to have you. What kind of face mask would you recommend for members of the public to wear?
Yeah, so there are three types of masks. We have the non-medical masks, which are the homemade ones, like the cloth that people put on. And we have the medical masks, which are mostly the surgical masks that are used in a hospital. And then we have the respirators, and these are ones that are able to filter small particles of microbial organisms. What is recommended for the public is the cloth mask. A cloth mask is good. It's been shown that it can prevent you from getting infections from between 2 up to 37% or whenever you are exposed to these viral particles. So it is good because, especially because of the pre-symptomatic and asymptomatic people who you may not know whether they have it or not. So at least if you have it, you keep it to yourself. And then if somebody doesn't have it, at least he can also be protected from getting it. It has been shown that people who practice this are able to reduce transmission of this virus in their community. And I think that is a good thing that we have to do. And I'm really encouraged and much happy that the security are going to ensure that this is done and this is adhered to within the communities.
Is this decision coming too late, would you say?
Well, I don't think it's too late. I think the announcement was made yesterday by the president, and they have been swift enough for this to be enforced. So
I'm just asking this, Dr. Michael Owusu, because we've recorded 5 more cases in that region, and I'm asking whether the decision to put on mask is coming in too late.
Well, I don't think it's too late. I think that maybe the clarification wasn't too clear at the beginning. So I'm happy that from today ongoing, the security are going to ensure that everybody puts this on. I think that it's a good thing. And once they ensure that people do this, many people are going to adhere to it. It's not too late. Let's practice this. And I'm sure once we do it, we become used to it. Many people will embrace it, and it will become a part of our normal culture to put on these face masks.
Well, back to the number of cases that have been recorded in Kumasi today. We know it's coming from some 204 samples that were tested. But is there any link to the lifting of the lockdown? Because a lot of people are beginning to say, yes, we said it. They've lifted the lockdown, and there are more cases being recorded.
I don't think this is linked to the lockdown. These samples, we have a lot of contact tracing samples backlogs that we are still analyzing. And for every batch that we analyze, there are some number of positives that we do get. This is not linked. I mean, every day cases come, and the number of cases that we are recording has been consistent over the past 2 weeks. I don't think this is as a result of the lifting. It's too early to really make any kind of conjecture or analysis on this. So for those who said that is due to the lifting of the lockdown, I don't agree. These are samples that have been collected even before the lockdown, which have been analyzed and for which results have been given to the Ashanti Regional Directorate.
Now, there are many who say that the local mask that is being produced with local fabrics is not good enough to protect people from contracting the virus. What do you say to this?
Well, I disagree. There are levels of protection. If those who are not in high-risk areas, I mean, like the health workers and those who take care of people at the intensive care unit, they need the respirators, which are high-level ones. The public should not compete for face masks with the health workers. This has to be strongly made. I mean, it has to be clear to everybody. When the public begin to go for what the hospital use, we are going to deprive the hospital sector of these masks, and that is not the way to go. This is why, quickly, a policy on the use of homemade nose masks is the best. It has about 30 to 40% protection, which is good. But I also think that it would be a very good thing for us if the Ministry of Health can come out with a prototype, and the Food and Drugs Board and Standards Board can come up with a policy on how this has to be made to guide many who are doing it. At least if you have a 2-layer of some fabric material with the cloth in front to give you some level of protection, I think this is good. So it's not too late. We could have some material prototype and make this public to all tailors for them to follow that standard in what they are doing. And I believe with time we can standardize this across board, and many will begin to use it to help the population from becoming infected.
I'm grateful for your time. Dr. Michael Owusu is a virologist with the KNUST, and he's been talking about the type of nose mask that is appropriate to prevent us from contracting the COVID-19. Still to come in this bulletin, Brent crude falls below $20, the lowest since 2002. COPEC says it is time for Ghana to stock up.
This is the perfect time that the Ghanaian authorities would have to pay a little more attention to oil.
There is more in the business segment when we return. Time now for business, and Daryl Kwao has the very latest from the business world.
It has to do with oil. The fact that prices are going down. I know what you're thinking, right?
It should be good for consumers, but
yeah, because you're going to fuel your car, you think that.
But because we're an oil.
Don't get ahead of yourself. Aisha, yes, it raises an important point about the fact that we are an oil-producing country, and we should be worried as well. So the price of a barrel of Brent crude has slipped below $20. It's the lowest since 2002. The close to 20% slump follows negative prices being recorded for a barrel of West Texas Intermediate, the benchmark for U.S. oil. Analyst with the Institute for Energy Security, Raymond Nuopo, explains what is triggering the massive decline.
Basically, it's still about the demand destruction on the oil market and storage space getting literally closed because of the demand destruction. We know there will be a projection that this particular month, April, the demand destruction is going to be about 29 billion per barrel. And we know that it's only less than 2 weeks that OPEC Plus and non-OPEC members came to a historic agreement of something close to 10 billion barrels. But it seems the cut is insufficient. Like IES have stated earlier that the cut is insufficient. And it's just the rule on that effect that is happening.
Executive Secretary with the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers Ghana, Duncan Amoah, has been explaining to Joy Business the potential impact on local pump prices and why government needs to stock its strategic reserves.
Crude that had crashed. Then you would expect that the pass-through effect will be felt at some point. Even that wouldn't have been as immediate as some Ghanaians are expecting local pump prices to drop to like 1 cedi per litre. That cannot happen. So we need to put that in proper perspective. Secondly, this is the perfect time that the Ghanaian authorities would have to pay a little more attention to oil. You cannot afford to lose both upstream and downstream. As we speak now, you are losing upstream because benchmark values have all tumbled, even on Brent. And so what you are producing, what your budgetary targets were or forecasts were, would have dropped significantly. That means that government is losing revenue. Should government be proactive in taking steps such that it can recoup some revenue downstream? Recouping revenue downstream means ensuring that your local refinery is brought back to productivity immediately. That way, your local oil producers like Tullow and the rest would not have to shut down because they are not getting their product or whatever they are, the oil evacuated.
So tonight, the Bank of Ghana has directed all specialized deposit-taking institutions, SDIs and banks not to declare or pay any dividend or distribute reserves to shareholders for the financial years 2019 and 2020. They are also not allowed to make any irrevocable commitments regarding the declaration of payment of dividends to shareholders until further notice. This is to ensure that banks and SDIs are better able to support their customers throughout the coronavirus outbreak and position them to absorb any potential operational losses from the COVID-19 pandemic. And just to give you an idea, the impact of coronavirus on the banking sector, management of Odotobri Rural Bank have closed down 4 branches in the Ashanti region due to the impact of coronavirus. It followed what officials say is a financial burden on bank's operation. Board member Benedict Bwedi is, however, confident the bank will bounce back as it contributes to fighting the pandemic. He spoke to Joy News after donating medical equipment and supplies to St. Peter's Hospital at Jakobu. Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin reports.
Mr. Benedict Bwedi emphasizes, though the bank is going through financial challenges, it can't be left out in the fight against COVID-19.
It has affected many businesses, and all of us, we all know. Right now, we've closed some of our branches, and it's affecting our source of income. So that's why I'm saying that it is not affecting only the bank, it's affecting every aspect of the economy. So we are also not left out. So we all need to pray so that we can get away with this disease so that we can go ahead with our normal businesses.
The bank's donation included personal protective equipment, thermometer guns and sanitary materials.
Simple, the message is simple. We are not in normal times. We have to strictly abide by the guidelines as given by Ghana Health Service or the WHO. That we should make sure we observe the social distancing, regularly wash our hands.
We brought about 8 different items, which includes infrared thermometer, thermometer guns. We also have hand sanitizers, we have tissues, we have alcohol, that's spirits. We have other items. We can mention of gloves and other things. So liquid soap, yeah.
In terms of Administrator at St. Peter's Hospital, Francis Bamie Asenso, took delivery of the items.
This is not the first time Odotobri has actually donated to us. We believe that they are a stakeholder in our system. So we are not surprised at all, but actually the quantum or the quantity of the item that they've actually donated is a surprise. So we thank them, and we believe that anytime we are in difficulties, they also come and assist. Thank you.
A report by Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin.
The coronavirus pandemic wreaking havoc everywhere, but you can still take good care of yourself. Here are some health tips.
The COVID-19 prevention segment is brought to you by Dole, a tasty and fruity yogurt. Alive soap. Your life matters to us. Stay alive. Magdan Shipping, your total logistics partner. Petrosol, a delightful experience. Pollard Life Assurance, we've got you covered. And Carex kills 99.9% of bacteria. Say yes to life in collaboration with the Ghana Medical Association.
And that's it for business for this hour. Coming up in sports, Professional Footballers Association of Ghana to help players negotiate salaries amid COVID-19 pandemic. Stay tuned.
Thank you for staying with us on Joy News Prime. I'm Gary Al Smith with the sport. Now, all around the world, the impact of COVID-19 is being felt, as we've been saying on the news, and in sports, it's not left also. It's important to note that in Ghana, there have been discussions across the divide in the Ghana Premier League Division 1 and other sectors of sport about whether players should take pay cuts. Well, Asante Kotoko were said to have had pay cut of up to 40%, a claim that has been dismissed by certain quarters of the club. However, the Professional Footballers Association of Ghana are taking center stage, and they are saying that for any clubs and players that want to have an arrangement for pay cuts in this difficult period, they'll be willing to help.
You see, with me, we've said on behalf of other Ghanaian players, we negotiated on their behalf with their clubs as to how much or what percentage should be taken off from the player's salary. And even there, you can see that the margins were not all that big. It's around between 5 to 20%. That has been the maximum so far. So if you want to narrow it down to Ghana here, it's going to be extremely difficult. And I think what the club should do is to interact with the players or with the players union on behalf of the players to see how best it could be handled. Because we know the salary cap in Ghana here. Some players are earning as low as 500 Ghana, 400 Ghana, 800,000 Ghana. So I think we need to treat this with all sorts of considering all sorts of factors, considering the fact that this COVID-19 has affected families and it extends to more financial responsibilities on the players. As it is assumed that every footballer is a rich person, we should also think that the players are going to have pressure from their extended family members who will be wanting help from them. So we really have to sit down to consider this thing very.
Where is your April salary going to come from? It's a question that people in various industries are asking, but guess what? For the Chief Executive Officer of Bichim United of the Ghana Premier League, Professor Nana Kwesi Darlington, he's revealed that his outfit has paid advance salaries to the playing body in the wake of the coronavirus pandemic. Many football clubs in the country, including Giant Asante Kotoko, are pushing for players to accept pay cuts to help the clubs balance their financials, since they have lost their main source of revenue, that's the gate proceeds, which is due to the indefinite suspension of the league. However, Bichim United have done the opposite by paying salaries even before the month ends to their players to help them cater for themselves and their families in these trying times. Professor Darlington said they cannot compare their financial situation in Europe to that of Ghana, and hence they cannot reduce the salaries of their players like is being done in more established leagues, where players earn astronomical figures as salaries. Still on local football, and Kotoko goalkeeper Felix Annan has vowed to regain the #1 spot in the club. Don't forget that shortly before the Ghana Premier League was suspended due to the COVID-19 pandemic, he lost his spot after getting married and not getting playing time.
All my years in Kotoko, all my playing career, I have been fighting for position. I have been always giving my best. So for sure, as far as I'm in the club, as far as I have a contract with the club, I am going to fight and give my best each and every minute. I step onto that field. So for me, it's not a problem at all. It's all about keeping on with my training and everything. I'll keep on fighting until I'm no more in the club.
That's it for the first hour of the sport. I'll be back sometime around 8:25 to bring you the second hour. I'm Gary Al Smith.
Time now for Showbiz. Becky is here with the very latest. Hi, Becky.
Hi, Aisha.
Always good to see you.
Anytime. Let me take you to China today because one Dr. Percy is there.
Yeah.
I know you remember.
Yes.
So he teamed up with a couple of friends in China. Apparently, they are, the biggest musicians in China, and they've come up with a beautiful song. I would like us to listen to that song first when we're about to talk.
You're a survivor. One world, one blood. Listen.
Gani, China, Nipa Festicali Kali, Yam boy, Humbai, Yang ya Bino, Yam fire sono, Emma about the Macy way. Yeah, boy, your friend the Corona, make us say, I will gonna, and you could not be Masun, and yeah, Papa, 1, 2, Bubble my shoes. Mind I miss Yamutia, your wife. 3, 4, near mechanism the truth. My friend, my duffel, and I won't hear me why. Harry, only more penny, only my polant, and I am come boom.
So that's Mikado. He's one of the biggest musicians in China. He's Ghanaian.
I think we should do a collaboration.
Oh, I'm sure we will.
We can do it.
Yeah, who will produce that song, Aisha?
Brala is there.
Really?
Brala will produce us.
Okay, but so we spoke to the doctor, asking him what actually inspired this song.
We pulled up this latest track basically from an inspiration from Israeli. As we all know, during the first track that I released for China during the peak points of the coronavirus, he encouraged me to do something in English. So it was through that we thought of doing something for Ghana too. But then at that moment, I kind of felt like it wasn't probably really ready, or the time wasn't there enough, because Ghana didn't have any cases, as we know, and we were all hoping it would stay like that. But then later on, as we all know what happened. Yeah. So after Ghana started reporting its couple of cases, we decided to put together this track. It was quite difficult doing it because, as you know, there are 5 main people in the song. A Beats, Apiti, who is the sound engineer and the producer. Mikado lives in the northern part of China. Jack 45 lives in Shanghai. And then we have Foster or Noisemakers, and Noisemakers lives in the Sichuan province. We are nowhere close together, so I had to contact all these individuals because they are the well-known Ghanaian musicians that you'd find around in China, people in Ghana. But as we know, Ghana is made up of so many dialects, and it was very necessary for us to try and reach everyone that we can. We know that at least if you're a Ghanaian, at least you can speak English, at least you can speak Twi, at least you can speak Ga somehow, and then it goes on and on. There is Ghana, Dangbe, Fanti, and then our brothers and sisters from the northern part of Ghana, and then we have Ewe and so on and so forth. But we tried to at least put together something that can reach out to everybody.
Doctor, musician, Percy. Dr. Ten, musician.
Well, but it's a good thing he's doing.
Yeah.
I think you're helping in the education of people to adhere to the measures.
Aisha, do you remember Kerry Hilson?
Yes, of course, in the Anglonga Junction.
Exactly. So Kerry is saying that she's so blessed to be part of this particular album, which will be, there'll be an album listing actually on Joy Prime.
On April 23, right?
Yes, right here in the studio. So Stonebwoy actually has a message for everyone out there.
23rd of April, Thursday, 2020 is a tin card, road to Anglonga Junction. So meet me at Anglonga Junction on Thursday the 23rd, 4 to 6 p.m., Joy Prime Hits FM. Bless up on yourself.
Beam to the world.
Of course, we'll be expecting Anglonga Junction. Definitely. And it's going to be bomb. It's going to be beam. But Stephanie Benson has been doing some marvelous job.
Yes, and she's been
educating people, advising them to adhere to precautionary measures to save us from COVID-19.
And I know we're very happy about that. The fact is, people like me are able to stay at home for as long as it takes. I have the luxury of being able to send for food, air conditioning. I have enough savings to take care of my family for as long as it takes to stay at home and beat this virus. I also know a lot of you don't have that luxury. Absolutely unfair. We don't have the infrastructure in place to take care of the 70% of people in Ghana who really don't have a basic regular income. As much as I know you have to go out and work because a lot of your work is on the street, selling, trading, you have shops. But if you have to go out there, I need you to take care of yourself.
Well, that's a good thing she's doing, and I'm hoping to see more from the celebrities out there. Thank you so much for bringing us Showbiz. Today, too, you took out Israel. He will deal with you. That'll be it for Showbiz. PDP is fighting off claims that the president's decision to lift the 3 weeks lockdown was only to pave way for the conduct of the party's parliamentary primaries. General Secretary John Boadu argues in spite of the lifting of the lockdown, the ban on social, religious and political rallies remain in force, insisting any move by the party to conduct primaries before expiration of the executive instrument imposing a ban on social gathering will be a breach of the law. His comment comes on the back of series of allegations by the opposition NDC indicating government's revocation of the earlier directive to curtail movement of people was only to favor his party. Mr. Boadu believes such allegations by the NDC are only an attempt to frustrate government's efforts to fight COVID-19.
I think that they forget that we still have in position of Executive Instrument 64 that clearly suspends all conferences, all public gatherings, all funerals, all sporting events, including churches and mosques and political rallies. So there's no way anybody who is objective, who is not just playing mischief, will by this decision of the president lifting the ban or lifting the lockdown, would think that it is to pave way for any political activity. But having said that, if by 26th of April the presidency or the government feel that there's a need to relax a little some of the measures that have been put in place, that is fair enough. But that will be based on facts and figures available to government, and government is ready to share with us.
The point the NDC has made is that clearly we are at a time where the confirmed cases are on the rise. And so it defies logic that the president will lift the ban. And that's why they are insistent and quite convinced in their minds that this was to pave way for the NPP to conduct the primaries and also allow the ANC to compile the register.
Because they don't read. Whoever was putting together their write-up or their response, they don't know that there still exists Executive Instrument 64.
Okay.
But I can't understand their logic. If by their intent the virus persists and spreads, how are they going to contest elections? So they should rather eschew their parochial position and their mischief and join hands with government in order for us to find lasting solution to the challenges we are having. Let me let you know something. See, what they've done with this statement and this distraction is to distract our attention from going ahead to continue to educate the Ghanaian people and the populace about the existence of Executive Instrument 64 that still imposes restrictions.
Mr. Boadu also criticized former President Mahama for distributing relief items to the vulnerable.
This is something that private, spirited citizens of our country started right from day one. You understand? Individuals, MPs, ministers, ordinary people of our country have been sharing all these things. You don't put them on social media to let people know that you just put together some 100 packs of rice and share and think that you've done so well. It is good.
No, he's the former president. I mean, people need to know that what he's doing to also help fight against COVID-19.
He's not the only former president in this country. He is contesting an election, and by so doing, just want to let people know that he's showing compassion. You see, the needed compassion is for him to have helped solve the doomsday that afflicted this country for the 8 years that he was in power. The needed compassion was for him to have help when His Excellency J. Kufuor discovered oil in commercial quantities. That led to GDP growth in 2011 to around 14.3%. When he took over, he should have maintained it or maintain it at a level that is appreciable. He reduced it to close to 3.7%. That is the needed compassion that we needed. When electricity prices were skyrocketing, we didn't have a situation where he showed compassion.
He's added his voice to, some recommendations, the things we need to do to fight against COVID-19.
When the Ebola,
he's done that.
Ebola menace were raging its ugly head, frontline health workers requested that they should be given incentive in order for them to continue prepare. He decided not to do so.
He didn't have Ebola in Ghana.
I'm saying that he decided not to do so.
But of course, he didn't have Ebola in Ghana.
He decided not to do so. You understand? So we are talking about compassion. We are talking about a leader that appreciates the sufferings of our people.
President of the National House of Chiefs, Togbe Afede, has implored the Ghana Health Service to treat cerebrospinal meningitis as a national emergency issue and is calling for mobilization of national support against the disease. Togbe Afede said there should be a concerted national action plan to support the people of the northern regions to bring the deadly disease under control. Togbe Afede made the statement in a speech read on his behalf after donating 50,000 Ghana cedis cash amount to the Upper West Regional Hospital for use, among other things, a seed fund for local research for the development of a vaccine for CSM. Joy News' Upper West Regional correspondent Rafiq Salam has more.
Cerebrospinal meningitis (CSM), the past 3 months has wreaked havoc in 5 regions in the northern belt of the country. 409 persons have been confirmed to have the disease. The disease has also claimed the lives of several dozens of people, the highest in the Upper West region. 40 people lost their lives, more than half of the deaths coming from the Jiriba municipality and Nandam district. Health authorities in the Upper West region blame most of the deaths on a new strain called serotype X, which they claim they have no vaccine for.
Worldwide, we don't have a vaccine for serotype X. Even if we have, you find it in 1 or 2 countries. And in our country, we don't even have, WHO hasn't licensed, I don't think WHO has licensed any vaccine for serotype X.
However, President of the Upper West Regional House of Chiefs, Koro Richard Babine Kantong, reading a speech on behalf of the President of the National House of Chiefs, Togbe Afede, was not happy with the amount of attention given to a disease that has so far claimed 40 lives.
While we as a nation are busily battling COVID-19 pandemic, which has taken down lives so far, with all the energy and resources we can master the CSM epidemic should also be given the needed urgent attention and treated with all the seriousness it deserves.
He has therefore implored the Ghana Health Service to declare the outbreak of CSM in the northern Gulf of the country as a national health emergency.
There should be a concerted national action plan to support the people of the northern regions to bring this deadly disease under control. We must mobilize national support against CSM now. The government and our development partners, as well as the corporate community, should support research towards the development of a vaccine for the treatment of. I would also like to urge victims and people suspected CSM to report early to hospital for timely treatment.
Koro Richard Babine Kantong, also on behalf of the President of the National House of Chiefs, donated a cash amount of 50,000 Ghana cedis to the Upper West Regional Hospital.
30,000 should serve as seed money for the establishment of a fund to support local research towards the development of a vaccine for the treatment of CSM. 20,000 cedis cash should go into the procurement of emergency medical supplies to support the delivery of quality and timely services to patients receiving treatment for suspected CSM-related cases.
Acting Medical Superintendent of the Upper West Regional Hospital, Dr. Robert Amesiye, was grateful to the President of the National House of Chiefs, Togo Afede, for his kind gesture, urging others to emulate his example.
We are happy for this donation, even though the first donation is coming from somebody that is not a son of the region, but I think this is just the beginning. I'm sure when sons of Upper West Region hear that a chief, in the Volta region has seen that there's a hospital that began operations in the Upper West Region that is doing a worthy cause, I'm sure many sons and daughters of the region will also follow suit to do what is expected of them.
The local foodstuff and vegetable hub at the Medina market is slowly bouncing back. Komla Adum visited the market today and reports many of them are following precautionary measures.
After staying at home for more than a week, traders at the fresh produce hub of the market are picking up from where they left off. Only that, they are more conscious than they used to be before. A 43-year-old vegetable vendor who loves to be called Laje One has taken personal responsibility by acquiring a Veronica bucket, water and soap at her stand. She washes her hands every now and then.
Immediately after I serve my clients, I wash my hands and use the sanitizers. There was a bucket at the entrance. I don't see it there anymore.
She appears to be the only one in this part of the market who has taken the initiative to also allow her clients to wash their hands after purchase.
I allow my customers to wash their hands also after purchase. It attracts the customers to come to my stand.
Others want municipal authorities to provide Veronica buckets and sanitary equipment at the entrance of the market for easy hand washing.
When we go to other markets, we see the Veronica buckets there. Over here, we haven't seen any. We urge them to bring us some.
In the yard, which used to be crowded with retailers out to purchase the freshest vegetables and foodstuff every day, the traders are practicing some level of social distancing.
We've kept a considerate distance. Also, we use the sanitizers after selling.
Municipal authorities have told them a shift arrangement will soon be instituted to allow adequate spacing. These traders welcome the move.
We have been told a shift system will be implemented. Some would come for 3 days, others would come to the market on the other days. We welcome this move. It will prevent crowding. It is for our own good. At the end of the day,
There is, however, some clarity needed considering the perishable nature of their wares.
This shift system arrangement will be problematic because we all sell fresh vegetables on this lane. The okra, for instance, are harvested every day. They will perish, so they should come clear.
On the fringes of the market, however, vehicles and humans compete for space. It is almost a beastly scramble. These traders on the shoulders of the road have been blamed for disregarding market rules to remain here. Security officials had to chase them out last week, as this trader tells me.
Because of the COVID-19, the security officials chased us away with canes.
na ya buye susu esu yentijai e asase aban yentijai yentumi jai su sa.
But since the lockdown has been lifted, we are back on the road.
But with life getting back to normal after the lifting of restrictions on movements, they are back where they do business like they never left. They will continue to battle for space with vehicles, and as for hygiene precautions in the face of a coronavirus pandemic, you'll have to be here to see for yourself. Komla Adum, Joy News, Medina Market.
And from the Medina Market, Maxwell Agbagba was also at Kaneshie Market to check how people are complying with the advice to wear surgical masks and the adherence to social distancing.
The usual feature that you find here at Kaneshie Market, the traffic on that particular stretch is back, with a lot of people going about their normal duties. Now, before we got to the Kaneshie Market, we were at the Malam Market, where market women were observing, social distancing. At the Kaneshie Market, at the bus terminal, we've been here for the past 30 minutes just observing. Out of 10 people you find, just 2 of them, will be in masks. Let's get close up and speak to some of the taxi drivers who are here at this market. Let's find out from them how they are ensuring social distancing.
This man was selling it this morning. The man who was taking the ticket.
Yeah.
He came and sold it this morning, so I bought it for him. But the others, some of them have it. Okay. But only when they are moving, that time that they wear it. Okay. See, but when you are on field like this, it's not, some of them doesn't wear it. But me, once I'm ready to move, I have to wear it.
So how do you say that you're ensuring social distancing here? Are you even able to adhere to social distancing here?
Yeah, we do it. Okay. Because since the lockdown came, it's only today that I've come to the park. Okay. But I've told them that whenever we are standing, we should not close. We should not get close. We should, do the social distancing.
My name is Daniel Ayi.
Okay. How are you ensuring social distancing here?
Oh, I think everything is cool here. We are managing here. Nothing happened.
The cobblers here want to speak to us. They want to talk to us. Tell me, how are you ensuring social distancing here? I think you're too close to your friend.
Oh, the social distancing, I don't know. Wait, too long.
But I'm just telling him that he's too close to his friend. But he says that even this is much of a distance.
Social distancing there. Okay, more. 733. I didn't disagree. I am correct. She said, Michelle Sana, TV, Simi Biadia. Michelle said, on the way, on the crano, and Michelle said,
well, my friend insists that we are adhering to social distancing here.
But you should sanitize, no? And social distancing, so yeah.
Well, I'm asking her what they're doing to protect themselves here at this market against coronavirus. She says they've been adhering to the social distancing protocol, and they have been also using sanitizers. So this is here for the market women. So they can actually come here and wash their hands anytime they feel that, anytime they deem necessary, they can just come here to and wash their hands. This is here at the Kaneshie Market. This is beautiful. This is encouraging. It has to be commended. But I had another woman complaining here. Let me find out from her what she was talking about.
3 days in 5 days.
Well, just when we're commending the initiative here for the market woman, this woman here is complaining that there is no water in that system. She says sometimes it can run dry for like about 5 days. There's no water for them to wash their hands.
The KMA COVID-19 Security Task Force has driven out traders from the Dr. Mensah Market area after authorities found them to have seriously violated social distancing protocols. Head of Security W.O. William Osei Atakra says the team will continue to restrain the traders until a proposed shift system by the Assembly becomes operational. Meanwhile, Love News checks in other market centers reveal a new craze and demand for locally made masks. Love FM's Erastus Asaridonko has more in the following report.
Dr. Mensah, one of the busiest trading hubs in Kumasi, continued to attract large numbers of traders. The KMA COVID Security Task Force is facing a Herculean task enforcing social distancing in the midst of teeming crowds. After dispersing traders from this enclave yesterday, KMA Head of Security W. William Osei Atakra says they had to disperse them again today because trading was being done with total disregard for protective measures.
This morning, we also had information that as early as 4 a.m. we were around because they saw that we were not around at that time. We normally report here at 5:30 a.m. and they use our absence to come in their numbers. And it wasn't easy when we arrived. We had a hectic moment, but we did our best. As I speak, you can even see from behind me that they have been driven out from this place.
One of the transport operators at Dr. Mensah puts the blame on the traders.
Otherwise, they said the woman has choked the place. The reason why the place are closing.
Personally, do you believe the place was choked?
True, the place are choking.
In other parts of the city, we realized a growing craze for locally made face masks as people warm into the use of protective gadgets. But not everyone finds its use comfortable. Now we are back to business as usual. This is Adum PZ, the central business district of Kumasi. In fact, the beliefs of the people of the existence of the coronavirus pandemic is a contradiction on its own. Though many of the people we speak with believe that the disease really exists, but then they downplay its effects vis-a-vis how they do their work and how that can affect them in getting infected with a virus. There are many who think that it's business as usual. Once the lockdown has been lifted, the effects of the pandemic can be downplayed. That's the virus. No.
Virus on the chroma there. Yeah, no, they question is belief. Before person who could be the whole 1 in 9. We be near to send Kanka or Kwana Kopima, no one more. So on young Kopimo Yandia, Kwana Oko. Now so Kwana Kopima there, once a one more. Sana before Yakwe. Chroma there, and Composer Muta Italy Diano. So be the owner, Kenya Diano. So be 1 in 9, or be 1 in 9, and Sayan will say, Savaros to the sea. As some travel TV so as soon as an empathy. As some who say the case here when I say invisible. Or Munini say invisible. Into yes, Roman Penina Roma. The iron there, or Casa or Show was not to media offer. And the Scala Erugo and San, often as I pay to see the Abuano beam. As a local Filipino will be.
Reporting for Joy News, Erastus Asaredonko, Kumasi.
Traders dealing in perishable goods at the Techiman Central Market are appealing to authorities to allow them trade at the market on weekends, as their goods would likely go bad by the end of the closure. The market, which is the largest food crops market in the sub-region, will be closed down Wednesday as social distancing protocols are being ignored by traders. Anas Sabit was at the market today and now reports.
As part of measures put in place by city authorities to stop the spread of the coronavirus pandemic, city authorities here in Techiman will be closing down the Techiman Central Market effective Wednesday, April 22. Now, to the many traders who are trading within this setting, what does this closure mean to them, especially those who are into the sales of perishable goods like tomato, onion, garden eggs, okra, and so on and so forth. We are setting into the market this afternoon to find out from these traders whether this closure would have any impact on their lives, and if yes, in what ways. The closure will be a blow to us because our goods won't go bad after some days. So we beg on authorities to allow those of us who are into perishable goods to be considered. It's a sad development for us here. You know, tomatoes, garden eggs, pepper and okra all go waste after some days. This market has over the years been the only source of life for our families. So when the market is closed, it will be a problem for us. Others are also calling on authorities to allow them to trade within the markets. Because if they are to move outside the central market to any assigned park, they won't be able to keep their items in safe place, especially those who are into the sales of yam. We are very worried at the closure because our goods would go waste by the time we return. We are being told we will be taken to a park where there is no shade and our goods will go waste under the sun. We do not know our fate now. Our meat will be rotten if care is not taken, and that would mean we will run at loss. They all have a simple appeal, and the appeal is that authorities should try as much as possible to allow them to trade on weekends once visitors from outside the municipality do not come to the market until Wednesdays, Thursdays and Fridays. So for these traders, when they are allowed to trade on Saturdays, Sundays and Mondays, the numbers in the market will be minimal, and as a result, they will be able to observe the required social distancing. We wish they will allow us to trade on weekends and close it down on the major market days, and that will be better for us. We appeal that if they will close the market, they allow us access to the market on non-market days.
Papa, yes. Sramo munkabi mai yes sramo namna enyamna sani die yes sramo yes mensala mensaya o mun consider ye ya maso akuafo be ho kirebe enti ya de sradie ya de fa ho so ama na to mana mpanfo se bempa baabi ma yentena na yenye pɛ adwuma kakra na akuafo so be ho ntobe enti eba ma ye ho akire pa enti nka yesre mpanimfo se o mo fa dwai na wochi emma ye na nka ye ni dwai nkosi fiara nto nam dada e wo yeso nyina na so nka o mo boa ye saade a ka ebe da o mo ase.
So from the Techiman Central Market here in the Bono East region, I am Anas Sabit for Joy News.
Bring back the military and the police. A call from the Ghana Medical Association tonight, which is getting the backing of some scientists in the lockdown phase of Ghana's war against the coronavirus. The GMA says the president must deploy the forces to enforce the wearing of masks and the social distancing protocols. Already, the Ashanti Regional Security Council is taking the lead in deploying security personnel to enforce the protocols. Speaking on PM Express Monday evening, Deputy General Secretary of the GMA, Dr. Titus Bayo, and a virologist at the KNUST, Dr. Michael Owusu, both backed calls for the military to be brought back to the streets to enforce the wearing of face masks and social distancing protocols.
And maintenance of vigilance. You know, we think that looking at how people responded to this lifting of the partial ban, it spells doom. People think it means everything is over, we are back to normal, we can celebrate, people were in the streets jubilating, making noise. I mean, oblivious of the inherent dangers in there. So we think that the security forces must remain on the streets to ensure that this social distancing is enforced. People who are sitting in churches, in the public transport systems, must still respect the social distancing. Our beaches and other areas that the president announced that the vigilance must be maintained should be there. And within the security forces must be there to maintain that. The president made a statement which we think he must work on. That is our last bullet in this battle, and that is maintaining an eagle eye on the data. So when we see a hotspot somewhere, if there's a need to impose a curfew there to stop complete movement of people in that area, that must be done as a matter of urgency. So that targeted quarantine is all we have left now. And that one should be taken with urgency if the need arises. There should be no delays at all.
Titus Bayo is Deputy General Secretary of the Ghana Medical Association. Still watching Joy News Prime. We'll be back shortly with more in business.
Hello, welcome back. Some more business news for you on Joy News Prime. We begin with the aviation sector, and passengers who exhibit any of the symptoms of the coronavirus upon screening at the domestic terminal of the Kotoka International Airport will be denied boarding of flight. This is according to Director of the Public Health of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Bedusa Akwode, who says the directive is part of the stringent measures to be implemented at all airports to help prevent the spread of coronavirus as domestic flights begin operations this week. Earlier, I spoke to Sales and Marketing Manager for domestic carrier Passion Air, Samuel Razak Techi, on how his firm is strategizing amid new protocols.
Yes, we have a mandatory hand sanitization, and this should be done before you board the flight. We also have mandatory temperature checks that will also be done before the flight. During the flight or in the course of the flight or before you board the aircraft, you are expected to have your face mask, which you are expected to don throughout the whole flight. And then also we'll be ensuring some kind of social distancing during the flight.
Okay, so two questions in one. Have you had any bookings yet now that, we are getting indications that you can travel? And how do you make up for the losses? Because, for instance, you have to do social distancing and all of that.
No, people are actually booking. People are interested in flying. They have other things to do. So we are getting some bookings. It's encouraging, considering the fact that this is just the first flight after the lockdown was lifted. With regard to what we're doing regarding our fares still remains unchanged. It's still the same. We'll just be managing the capacity on the aircraft because of the social distancing protocol.
Now, the Ashanti Regional Coordinating Council says the ban on all market days in the region are still in force despite lifting of partial lockdown. Authorities insist it is to ensure social distancing protocols are observed to prevent spread of coronavirus. Special market days attract many from smaller towns to bigger markets for trade. Many customers have preferred buying on such days since prices are on the low. Regional Minister Simon Osei-Mensah has banned such activities across the region to contain the spread of the coronavirus. He wants metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies to supervise shift systems adopted for sanity to prevail. Nanaya Ojima has more in the following report.
Dr. Mensah's section of Kumasi Central Market was flooded with activity as traders invaded the facility on Monday following announcement of suspension of lockdown. Many people misinterpreted the lifting of the ban as total discontinuation of all preventive measures.
I came to buy some foodstuffs but couldn't enter the market after seeing the crowd. They had taken over the center of the market. Social distancing was being disregarded, hence the action the security took. A few of us restricted ourselves to our stores, but our colleagues who are not supposed to be here came to cause the overcrowding you saw.
Traders were forced out of the market by city authorities in enforcement of shift system. Other markets at Bantama, Swami, and main Kumasi Central Market had their own challenges. Mr. Osei-Mensah says further breach of the law will attract appropriate sanctions.
At a point, we needed to close down the market. We had problems also with the Central Market, for which the KME mayor also had to close the market. Similarly, we have problem at Bantama, Swami. So once the ban or restrictive movement has been lifted, then we have to ensure that Those people who will breach the other protocols and directives, we take the necessary action against them. You should not forget that we have several people who are before the law courts, and we've not stopped. If we get people who are breaching Act 1012, definitely we are going to take legal action against them.
Meanwhile, the RCC continues to receive donations for the fight against the pandemic. The 4th Garrison Fitness Club is the latest donor with personal protective equipment, food, and other sanitary items worth 50,000 cedis. Boris Baidu is member.
So we thought it wise in our Keep Fit Club, and as part of our responsibility in the Constitution, also to do social responsibilities. So we thought that Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo should not go through all this alone. And so we had to do some donations, in the Keep Fit Club, just to support whatever, he's been fighting so far. And that is the reason why we specifically came today, to donate this to the regional minister and also extend it to the prisons and, of course, the health services.
From Kumasi for Joy News, Nana Ojima reporting.
Now, the Association of Olam Cocoa Transporters say it is offering free haulage of medical equipment and supplies meant for hospitals and vulnerable persons affected by the lockdown. Leaders say it is the contribution of members to the national fight against the coronavirus pandemic. The group made the pledge when it made a donation to St. Edward's Hospital at Edujama in the Ahafo Ano North East District of the Ashanti region. Nana Sensumensa reports.
The association, with about 300 trucks, brings together produce transporters for local cocoa buying company Olam Ghana. Secretary Prince Arthur says the gesture is meant to provide relief for Ghanaians who are complementing government efforts to contain the coronavirus pandemic.
You realize that some people are also trying to do something, but these transportation and other things are preventing them from reaching those outskirts. And so being transporters, and I think we have to let them know or understand that that is the services that we also render, and that is the way we are also going to help, so that we can reach out to the other people as well. So anybody that fall within the helping hands that we are talking about, anybody that have the intention of going to help people outskirts can also fall on us, and we will also be prepared to assist that person in carrying the goods or other things to those areas. Listen, just as we are also individuals and we are helping, we know there are other several individuals out there who are also prepared to help. So if any time that they gather some goods or items, it's not a matter of gathering a whole articulated load, just like we've seen here. You see, anything at all, any quantity at all that you feel it's just from your heart. So if you are able to do that or mobilize such kind of, it can be taken from other people. People are willing to do that. And if you are able to gather them and you need a truck or something, we can assist you in that advice.
Management of St. Edward Hospital called on individuals and groups to support medical facilities, especially in the hinterlands, as Ghana battles COVID-19. Dr. Gifty Amugi is medical superintendent.
That the government can't carry all this burden on its own. Yes, from Ghana Health Service, from Ministry of Health and other health agencies, they come to our aid, but what they can give you will not suffice, because we have a lot of facilities and a lot of communities, a lot of districts. So this one is an appeal to benevolent organizations, philanthropists who would want to help, to come out and help in hinterlands as well. The disease is everywhere. It is not for city dwellers. It's not for urban people. It can be rural, it can be peri-urban. So wherever we are, we should think about the fact that your grandmother can also get it, your uncle can get it, your cousin also can get it.
So we have been reporting the lowest decline of Brent crude prices since 2002. Here's how trading on the commodity market ended today. That's it for business tonight.
Time now for the interactive segment. You can join us on facebook.com/joynewsontv. On Twitter, it's at Joy News on TV. And on Instagram, it's at Joy News on TV. And let's have a beautiful conversation. You know that today the police service has been giving out tanks of water to residents. And they've been very happy about this gesture. And we posted this on Facebook a while ago. Police service supplies free water to Ofankor residents. And guess what? It's generated a lot of comments, 39 comments so far, 52 shares, and a number of likes. Let me begin with Ramadan Moin. He says, most useful news from the police on COVID-19 so far. God bless you. Baba Wala says, Ghana police beyond the GH1 on roads. Kudos, God bless the police service. And Michael Jordan says, now I can see Ghana police is catching up with international standards of policing. Nanado, thank you for your excellent leadership in the country. Nanado, please, more humanitarian relief to show that Ghana is not poor as such. Ghana, I'm proud of when Ghana we have a good president like Nanado. Keep it up and don't disappoint us. Eddie Day says, God bless the police service and keep them safe. Amen. And Portia Mwako comes in to say, I have a poly tank, so if they can supply me water at a reduced price, I'll be more than happy. But they're giving it out for free for some people. And Stephen Freaky says, what time did you come to Amasaman? Laughing out loud. The whole of Ganwest, especially Odumase, has no pipelines, so we do buy from these water suppliers. You came to Amasaman, Anyamante. Interesting, Stephen. Well, again, you know that Sarkodie is pleading with the president to temporarily open the country's borders for citizens, and this was also posted on Facebook. Let's look at some of the comments coming in. And remember, he also praised the president for all the measures he's been putting in during the COVID-19 pandemic. And so Wusu says, as his slogan goes, money no be problem, so he should charter a flight and pick Papi Kojo and all other celebrities stuck over there and come home. We'll plead with the president to open the airport for their plane only, but they shall be quarantined for 2 weeks before being allowed to go to their various homes. I know people will insult him about his humble request, but let's not forget that SAC is national asset. Those are some of the comments on Facebook, and that'll be it for the interactive segment. That also will be it for the bulletin. And on behalf of the rest of the production team, have a great evening.